Hi everyone, this is Vaughn, Spirit of Health. We're live, week number 7. We have, I kind of make up the questions. Last week was ketogenic diet. Man, I opened a hornet's nest with that one, but that's okay. It's kind of fun to talk about it. Again, not everybody has all the perfect answers, but it's just fun to talk about these things and figure out what works best for everyone. But this week, we're going to talk about detoxification and cleansing with herbs. So we obviously love herbs. We call them God's weeds. We're big into cleansing and detoxification. It's just something that has been highlighted to me that I focus on here at Spirit of Health that I think is crucially important. I love nutrition. I love fasting. But I really think herbs and other therapies and protocols are very important to actually assist the body in the cleansing and the sweeping and the removing of the toxins in our bodies and things that are blocking us from wellness or from healing. So we want to talk about different ways you can use herbs for cleansing and detoxification. And this week, we happen to be having Dr. Morse herbs on sale. You can go to our website, check it out. store.spiritofhealthkc.com. So let's start with your questions. I have a question from Paul Jesse. He says, what is the best procedure or cleanse for getting rid of infection throughout the body? That's a pretty complicated question, actually. It sounds like a simple question. We could talk for quite a few hours about that. But it's a hugely important topic. So let me just tell you where I'm at in my journey with this, because I've battled infectious issue. I'd say the majority of people that walk in my door, at least the really sick ones, all are battling infections. The children who are struggling so much are battling infections. You can guess based off of symptoms, but I find that what's really important is the lab testing, and we've been doing the Great Plains Lab. Here, I'll show you. We've been doing the Great Plains Lab urine test kits. Now you can check metals and chemicals and all kinds of stuff, but the urine test is really cool because you can find yeast, candida, fungus, clostridia, mold toxins. So really the best way to cleanse with infections is to figure out what infection you're dealing with. So I run a urine test called Infection Profile, and that'll check for those things I just mentioned. Now, the other things that are going on that there's honestly not great ways to test for anywhere that I've found is the parasite issue, which you can do a stool test, but they're pretty inaccurate. And viruses are a big deal. Lyme's a pretty big deal, but it's very often misdiagnosed, and the Western blot is notoriously inaccurate. So I usually just start people with, hey, let's check for the Candida, yeast, fungus, mold, clostridia. And then when those things are going on, they're usually systemic, they're usually throughout the whole body, and that's the challenge. So really, the breath procedure / cleanse is 2 things. The 2 things I found that are the most helpful is 1, knowing what infection it is and going after it. So if it's parasites, let's go after parasites. If it's a Candida yeast overgrowth, let's go after the Candida. If it's mold, that's super serious, and there can be some pretty intense protocols for that. Sometimes as serious as going well beyond herbs and maybe even doing some like Rife therapies or some far infrared sauna therapies, or some more deeper procedures that can help with that. So knowing which infection, taking herbs and things to cleanse those out, and then the other part is your lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system is that flowing river of life, and it's the stagnation of that lymph system that allows infections to be in the body and to grow. And so for women, there's lymph all around your ovaries and the uterus and those areas. And you think of all the infections going on in there with women, and the ovarian cysts and the endometriosis and all this stuff. In your brain, in your chest, there's lymph throughout your whole body. And so where a lot of people are having issues is where the lymph is congested. And that's a mucousy, congested environment where the infections live. So if you want one of my favorite things to help with this, and again, we can talk about 100 things, I think iodine is one of the most powerful tools out there, and that's technically an herb. You can use black walnut, which kills parasites and is high in iodine. So black walnut's an awesome therapeutic tool for all of this stuff. We use Exodine a lot, Xodine by Cedar Bear, which is a seaweed-based concentrated iodine. And if you take iodine, you're going to support your thyroid, and you're going to remove infections from the body and protect yourself against chemotherapy and radiation and all the nuclear stuff going on out there. And it actually detoxifies fluoride out of your body. And we could talk for a long time about how amazing iodine is. So that would be a go-to therapy. We have a cleanse called a microbe cleanse. And the way I designed the microbe cleanse, which you can just go to cleanses and programs on our website, the microbe cleanse has a fungal component, so like Candida yeast fungus. It's got a viral product in it, antiviral product, and it has a parasite cleanse in it. So it's kind of a full range antimicrobial cleanse. So a lot of people like that one to remove microbes from the system. But again, great question. I'd love to talk more on it. But basically, like, try to find out what the infection is you're dealing with. Go after that infection with a clear protocol, because what works for yeast is different than Clostridia is different for mold is different for parasites. And so that's why we got to know what's going on in there. And then cleanse. Work on unblocking the clogged, the dams that are blocking up the river. Let's work on the gallstones, the kidney stones, the mucus, all the stuff blocking the system from flowing properly. Right.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
I have one from Rachel Foster. She says, pretty excited about this live.
Hi,
Thanks for sharing. And then she wanted to know, do you test for staph?
No, I don't. Staph is not one that's on the test that I do. In a stool sample, you can test for a couple other things that I didn't mention, like H. pylori is one of those. And there's some other ones too, but no, staph is not one that I can check for. But if you go to the traditional doctor and he tells you have staph or strep or mono, that tells us something, and we can come up with a protocol based off of that. All right, Angela Gonzalez says, my toddler gets red inflamed patches of skin. Oh man, I hate hearing that. I've dealt with that with our daughter, and common. I had a gal in here today with the same issue. Super common, sadly, with kids. The doctor said it's eczema, which is simply dry skin. No, eczema is not simply dry skin. I'm not convinced. Good, I'm glad you're not convinced. It's too red and welt-like just to be dry skin. So will herbs detox be an option to heal whatever is going on inside causing inflammation? Well, real quick on eczema. Eczema is blood toxicity. Blood toxicity comes from congested organs. So in the lymph or the kidneys or the liver or the colon or a combination of all those things is congested. The blood can't stay clean, and if the blood can't stay clean, stuff comes out in the skin. So all skin conditions are virtually the same thing. It's blood toxicity. What happens with children is they're eating foods that they're not able to fully digest. So you can call it partially a digestive issue, but usually it's more because their lymph and other systems are clogged. And so the undigested food or other things that are going into their bodies are causing these skin reactions. So really nutrition is the hands down best thing you can do. The reason eczema is challenging and nobody has any real solutions is, well, because the medical facilities and the medical, whatever you want to call it, system, they say they don't know what it is, which we do know what it is, so I don't know why they don't know what it is, but they say they don't know what it is or what causes it, and so they give you steroids. And so steroids don't get to the root cause of why you have the issue, which is a congested detoxification system. And it weakens your immune system and weakens your adrenals and makes you more susceptible to more sickness, more disease, more infections. And unfortunately, sadly, this is the road children are going down. So I am big on not doing any of that, because to clear up eczema and to clear up the skin, you need to take pressure off of the elimination organs. And so the first way to do that is to simply change their diet. Get the dairy out 100%, get the grains and the high gluten containing foods out, get the heavy foods like nuts, peanuts especially, the heavy fatty foods out of the diet because they clog up the lymph in the liver. My daughter, we knew she was dairy intolerant. Do dairy, she'd break out in a rash. We haven't done dairy in years with her. But she actually started breaking out in rashes on her face, and we couldn't figure out why, and it turned out it was fat, any fat. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the reality because her lymph is congested. And so when we would give her fat, her skin would break out in a rash, and I tested the theory. I went all day, gave her no fat, her skin was perfect. I gave her 3 olives, I'm not joking, 3 olives, and her skin broke out in a rash. And so we've had to drastically reduce our fat intake as a family. And I know everybody's big on this ketogenic diet thing. I'm telling you, it is works for a few. Very, very problematic for so many people for many reasons, which I kind of talked about in that last video last week. But to answer your question, diet is key. I don't think an herbal detox is really necessary. I think you take the pressure off of the system through diet. If you want the simple version, it's eat fruits, vegetables, greens, and lean meats like chicken, turkey, fish, and cut out most of the rest. Cut out the grains and the sugar and the dairy and cut out the heavy fats. I'm not saying you can't do some olives or some olive oil or a few pumpkin seeds or whatever, but the heavy fat diets we're bombarding people with is certainly problematic for anybody with a skin condition, especially children. Now, if you want to do a little bit of a detox, give them some lymph herbs. That's what we did with our daughter. We gave her the Dr. Morse. Hey, we're talking about Dr. Morse. Dr. Morse lymphatic cleansing herbal formulas because they're the most powerful. And for kids, if you don't want to do the alcohol, they have a whole vegetable glycerin line. Super tastes good, easy to give to kids. So get some of the lymph herbs for detox. And I'm big on the minerals, the Biocean minerals. I've seen clear up a lot of cases of skin issues and eczema with children. So get the Biocean minerals, give that to your kids a couple of times, take some good lymph herbs, and then get your kids outside, playing in the sun, running around like crazy because that's what they're supposed to do. Get them sweating and get off the heavy diets. Fruits, vegetables, greens, some lean meats, some quinoa. All that will go away, promise. No doctors necessary, no drugs, no steroids, no creams and salves and all those things that they give out there that are completely unnecessary because they don't understand or they're not taught what eczema really is. Janet LaRue, oh my good friend, been a long time. Cleansing stubborn Candida and yeast. After elimination diets, oregano, probiotics. I am at my wit's end. What am I missing? Man, I am sorry. Yeah, it's a tough battle for a lot of people. I haven't seen you for a long time, Janet, and in the last year and a half, I found the lab testing to be super crucial because, again, what are we battling? I mean, just to give you an example, like if your assumption's Candida yeast, which it could be, and that in and of itself can be challenging, but let's say it's Candida yeast, and you've done the Candida diet and you're doing all the Candida yeast stuff, but you really have mold toxicity or you really have Clostridia infection. It doesn't work. And so people get frustrated because what works for one person for yeast doesn't work for another person because of maybe the severity of it or because they actually have something completely different and they don't know it because they've never checked it out. So if you want to do the urine test called infection profile, it can give us a lot of information to see what we're actually dealing with. I don't know any quick fix solutions for Candida and yeast outside of just a good long-term plan. Now, the other thing we've been doing more recently, outside of just diet and herbs, which are great, some people that takes care of it, some people it doesn't, is the Rife machine and the far infrared sauna. So infectious organisms do not like heat and they cannot live in a hot environment. That's why people move to Phoenix, Arizona. That's why the body gets a fever when you're sick. So get in a sauna, get on a far infrared mat or a biomat, exercise to the point of sweating, or do the hot exercise where you heat up the room and exercise. But anything you can do to stimulate heat and movement in the body will kill infections, and it also start to cleanse that lymph and remove infections out of the body. So the other component you could be missing is lymph cleansing. So if your environment in your body is stagnant and your lymph is blocked up, you can kill yeast all day, all week, all month long, but that stagnant lymph environment's still there, and you aren't going to fully change the environment to the point where the Candida can't just keep coming back, if that makes sense. So I love what you're doing. I remember you loved the iodine. You had really benefit from that. So I'd encourage you to get back on the iodine. A lot of people don't do enough. 12 to 13 milligrams minimum. That's Exodine at 30 drops a day. But you can do even more than that. So hope that helps.
Janet said, awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Sheree. Is it Sheree or Shara? Sheree? Tanner. I know her. I just don't know how to pronounce it properly. Which herbal tinctures of Dr. Morse could be used while pregnant or nursing? Well, it's a good question. I hate to dodge your question, but I recommend many other amazing things for nursing, like the Balance, like the Ocean Minerals, like the Blood Builder, plant-based iron formulas, all kinds of great things out there for pregnancy that I talk about in my videos. But if you're just loving the Dr. Morse stuff, I would say support your hormones. So do the endocrine balance formula. Do the adrenal gland tonic by Dr. Morse. So supporting those hormones, really good for pregnancy. Kidney. I think kidney herbs are good and safe and very beneficial for pregnancy as well. A lot of women have issues with their bladder, or the preeclampsia and the blood pressure issues, or the frequent urination. And so some kidney issues a lot of times will come up with women during pregnancy. So the kidney herbs are safe. Definitely any of the endocrine stuff. Again, the adrenal gland tonic. There's an immune system formula called Ultimate Immune Tonic. So that would be a good one. But, you would not want to do the lymph herbs, for example. They're super, super strong. You wouldn't want to do the parasite formulas. You wouldn't want to do the lymph herbs. So you do have to exercise some caution. Even the liver formula is going to have a lot of really strong, like berberine herbs, which can be a little harsh for cleansing. So I'd avoid those. And then if you don't want to do the alcohol, again, he does have a glycerin line, and you can do these formulas in glycerins. So hopefully that's helpful. And if you want to do something to kind of help with bowels, if a lot of women struggle with constipation during pregnancy, you could do his stomach and bowel formulas too. He's got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, based on the varying levels of constipation somebody might have. So 5 for extreme constipation, down to 1. Rachel Foster, vaccine detox, question mark. Boy, that's a toughie. Boy, you guys asked some tough questions. Toughie, because, again, there's so many weird, like, conglomeration of toxic soup that goes into those vaccines. It's kind of hard to know what you're dealing with. If you just want to prevent, there's a vaccine reaction. We have one called Vaccord. It's a homeopathic by Energetics. So look into homeopathy, because there's a lot of vaccine protective formulas in homeopathic blends. We have one called Vaccord. The other thing I would do is I like the GI Broom by Dr. Morse, because it helps move the bowels, but it's got clay and charcoal in it, and those clay and charcoals are binders to help bind toxins and metals and abnormal things that shouldn't be in the system. I think one of the best formulas, which actually goes into answering the next question, is BioRay's formula. Mm-hmm. They have a product called NDF, N Nancy D David F Frank. NDF, it's a micronized chlorella, and it is millions of particle size of this chlorella broken down, increases the surface area to bind toxins and chemicals and metals. And they've actually done the before and afters. They've done the lab tests, show the toxic XYZ metals or herbicides or plastics or whatever. Take the NDF, do the after test 3 months later. Drastic results. So I love what they do, because they prove their stuff works through testing and things. So for vaccine detox, like if you have to get a vaccine, I always say do a clay pack. take some bentonite clay, mix it with iodine, some other herbs to help draw and pull, like comfrey, and plantain's a great pulling herb, and put that right on the spot of the vaccine and wrap it, because that'll draw poisons back out of the blood at the place of where the shot's put in there. But yeah, I would say that's about it. Yeah, besides, testing, I was talking about the Great Plains lab testing. You can do a hair test for heavy metals. My daughters weren't vaccinated and had mercury toxicity. That's no fun. So we had to work through that. But we did hair analysis to find that out. And with urine, you can check infections, but you can also check chemical toxins. And those are the main toxins in vaccines, is different chemicals and obviously the heavy metals. All right, so Leslie Dawkins says, how do parents use and select the right herbs for children, teens who need to detox and cleanse but are not ready for the full cleansing programs you offer? Super good question. So without going into all different kinds of things you can do, I'm just going to go with BioRay, because BioRay specializes in children's detoxification. I don't know if there's another company out there that does that. I'm sure there is, but I don't know of them. And so when I found out about them, I was super excited. And they've been doing this for 20 plus years, and they've worked with tons of special needs children and autism and severe behavioral disorders. And they know what problems work for children. And the nice part about it is they make their stuff really, really, really easy. And so they have products that help with, for example, oh cool, she brought some of them that help with, I'll just show you, focus. Okay, focus, you know what that means. So ADD, ADHD, attention, this is an adrenal problem. So focus is an adrenal formula. And you'll notice the kids need to support their adrenals when they're having these issues with attention, focus. Also, kids who have been on steroids or struggle with some of these other things, the focus is very helpful for building and strengthening the adrenal glands. They have a professional line as well, which I use often for children. The kids line is great, but if you need something stronger, the professional version is called Loving Energy. So focus or Loving Energy for kids, for adrenals, focus, attention. Then we got, let's talk about calm. Calm. So this is anger, irritability, fits of rage, tantrums. Like, this is a real thing. And so what this is liver. So liver is tied to a lot of those emotions and a lot of those issues. So Calm is the children's product for liver, and the professional version is called Liver Life. And I love the kids line. I think it's great. We give our kids the professional formula. But most kids are having more severe issues. The professional line is great. But if you're just having some minor issues, the children's line is perfect. So that's Liver, Calm. Then we get into some gut stuff. Happy is cool. So happy, you know what that means, right? So that means when the child's always upset, sad, frustrated, emotional breakdown over everything. That is oftentimes a gut issue, a gut imbalance, and it's usually infections in the gut. So I talked earlier about these infectious issues kids are dealing with yeast and candida and parasites. So this is happy, and this is your, they call it removes unwanted organisms. So it's unwanted organisms. We know what unwanted organisms are. And so this is kind of your antimicrobial product. The professional line formula is called Artemisia and Clove. It's really, really strong. Shine is their probiotic. And it's a lysate, and it's a little bit complicated, so I won't explain it, but it's the end byproducts of what probiotics produce. And so what it does is it immediately helps with serotonin in the gut, immediately helps with B vitamins in the gut, immediately starts to flush out unwanted organisms. This is kind of one of their flagship products because kids who are nonverbal, they'll start speaking for the first time when they start to work and clean up that gut, and this product does that. I have had testimonials from moms, from children who just started speaking or were just maybe one or two words started speaking full sentences, and I've seen that happen with this product. So really cool probiotic gut happy product. It's called Shine, and the professional line version is called Cytoflora. The other thing I like about BioRay is their NDF, which is the micronized chlorella. So if you want to get heavy metals, mercury, aluminum, those things out. Also what detoxes aluminum, just so you know, is silica. Get liquid silica, put a teaspoon of that a couple times a day. It detoxes aluminum out of the body. But the NDF, the micronized chlorella, will pull metals, chemicals, and other toxins out of your children's body. Now, what's super cool about BioRay is they have these detox kits. So you can get the Trio or the Quintet, I think it's called. The Quintet's cool because it's basically like your no-brainer version for detoxing your kid. So if your kid has all kinds of issues and you don't know exactly what it is, just get the Quintet. At least get the Trio. You can see what's in it. But in the Quintet has all the things we just talked about. It's got the adrenal support, the liver support, the gut product, the Cytoflora, the products to remove unwanted organisms, the Artemisia and clove, and the NDF, which is the micronized chlorella. So it's all of those. And so it's kind of like your full spectrum detox, support adrenals and liver, like just perfect little packaged detox. Easy way for parents to just get their kids on the right track. So a little diet change and do the BioRay detox, and I mean you're making strides. BioRay was one of those products we introduced to our kids, specifically our eldest, Naomi, because the issue she was having, but noticed a huge shift, not only physically, but just emotionally, and actually her behavior drastically changed and improved. And really important for parents to know, because a lot of times they think their kid is just acting a certain way because of like bad behavior. And usually it's either like actually our bad parenting that we have to admit, or it's actually like real physical issues going on in our kids. You know, these infections and these metals and these things like affect emotional behavior. Parents really need to hear that and understand that and have some grace and for their children, and understand that like there's solutions to these things outside of the medical system, which mainly just makes the kids worse. So hope that helps for what you can do with children and teens to detox. Nancy Pinegar, how often do you suggest doing a cleanse, and is there any particular time of year that's better than others? So the best time not to cleanse is winter, right? Unless you live in Hawaii or California, something like that. But like, it's hard for me to cleanse in the winter. I know people who do juice fasts in the winter, and it's pretty hard, and they're pretty cold. So spring is a great time to cleanse. Just that's kind of what the season is about. Renewing, growth, cleansing. Fall is a great time for cleansing. Really that whole end of March into September kind of window with specific focus on spring and summer. Spring and summer are probably your best time to cleanse, because you can be outside, you can be more active, you can be in the sun, you can do those things that contribute to our healing and to our cleansing. And so I really prefer that. According to Chinese medicine, spring right now is the best, absolute best time to work on your liver. So if you've ever wanted to do a liver cleanse or a liver detox, now is the time. So how often do you suggest doing it? It's kind of up to the person. I mean, people who are sick like cleanse all the time, and it's just kind of what they need to do to get well. For an average person, whatever that means, right? Whatever an average person is anybody? I'm not average. I'm abnormal. But for the general population who's not really into cleansing, or say you've never really done a cleanse, I would say twice a year is glorious. You can do spring and you can do fall. Colon's probably your most important cleanse, because that's the main one that gets messed up in people. But obviously you can look at our website. We've got the colon cleanse, kidney, lymph, microbe cleanse, liver cleanse. A lot of people do the order of cleansing. I've had surprising amount of people go through the cleanses. It's a 3-month process, but if you want to just really rock and roll and go for it, you can do the colon, kidney, lymph, microbe, liver cleanse 3 months, and yeah, I mean, I've seen that change a lot of people's lives. So it just really depends on you. You can cleanse once or twice a year. You can go hardcore for 3 months just because you're trying to restore your health. But a lot of people have to adopt more of like a fasting, cleansing type of a lifestyle, just because of some of the things they're working through and they're struggling with, and that's perfectly okay too. You know, there's answers out there, and you know, I'm a big believer in removing the toxins from this body, this temple, this vessel that God gave us that's become polluted, damaged, not only through our choices, but generationally through past choices. Almost all of us are born with some level of toxicity and things going on. I mean, that's our daughters, you know. They obviously didn't make a bunch of bad choices that got them sick. You know, it's a result of just that process of toxins being passed on from birth to the children, which is pretty normal thing these days, unfortunately, because of where we're at. So that was all the questions I had. I maybe have a question or two that came up live.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Rachel Foster asked for herbs to assist hives.
Oh, herbs to assist hives. Cool. So that loving energy formula I mentioned by BioRay, which is also the focus. That's a natural antihistamine. Our little girl Noelle started breaking out in these little hives, and I didn't know what it was or what she ate or what happened, and I just boom, 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 gave her like 4 or 5 squirts of the loving energy, and bloop, in 10 minutes it was gone like nothing happened. So it's a natural antihistamine. So I love that loving energy formula for adrenals, focus, attention, but it's also a natural antihistamine. So if you think about it, the doctors give people what? Steroids. Steroids come from where? The adrenal glands. Mm-hmm. And so the adrenals is really crucial to this anti-inflammatory response in the body, and that's why the steroids and the creams are so damaging and detrimental to children's health and their immune system long term. Mm-hmm. Other well-known antihistamine herbs are stinging nettle, quercetin, aloe vera. There's a formula we have called D-Hist Junior by Orthomolecular that's a natural antihistamine. If you got some aloe vera in the house, you can drink that or put that on topically. The loving energy I mentioned by BioRay, you can take it internally, but you also can put that on topically. So those are some hopefully some helpful hints for your hives.
And then we also had a question: would diet have to be pure while using herbs to detox?
Does diet have to be pure while using herbs for detox? Gosh, it's kind of a tricky question. I mean, yeah, ideally you're eating a clean diet. If you think about it, I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't think of a good example. But, you know, if you look at the body and how it's a lot of tubes and it's designed to be cleansing and flowing, you're going to make a lot more progress on a clean diet than you are not on a clean diet. And so, for example, if you go to these places that are around the country and you go there for a week and you spend $5,000-$6,000, you know, they're going to have you cleansing and doing enemas and doing herbs, but they'll probably put you on a no-fat diet because fats block up the lymph in the liver and they block the ability of the body to detoxify. So if you're eating, you know, let's not be silly and be obvious and say, you know, you're eating McDonald's, you know, obviously you can't detox. But even if you're still eating a healthy, heavy diet with lots of fats and sugars and different things, and you're trying to make the healthy muffins and, you know, do all that funny stuff, you know, you're not going to get very far in cleansing and detoxifying as far as like your lymph and your liver and getting really, really deep. Now, you can take what we just talked about. You can take NDF and micronized chlorella and still get mercury out of the body, and you can still take a herbal antihistamine and still stop a histamine response, and you can still take an herbal allergy formula and stop an allergy response. But if you actually want to cleanse deeply, you eat fruits, vegetables, and greens, and you take your herbs and you go play outside in the sun all day, and then you know, the body can start to clean out all those blockages. So all right,
perfect.
Anyway,
She just wanted to know on the last one, are all those formulas kid safe for the antihistamine responses?
Oh yeah,
Those are
yeah. They're actually for kids. Well, you mean like the DHIS Junior? Yeah, so the DHIS Junior is for kids. There's a DHIS and then there's a DHIS Junior. And then the BioRay products are actually designed for kids. So that's the Levian Energy and the Focus. Absolutely for kids. Strongly encourage parents to have that. Like, that's one of those things, like, so you should see our medicine cabinet. It's hilarious. Like, we should do a video on it at some time. Like, we got this arsenal. I just told my wife the other day, I'm like, we could have a hospital, like, in our house. Like, because we have so much stuff. And a lot of it we have in there just for, like, when we need it. There's times like when you need a lung formula or a cough formula, or you need to do iodine, or you need to do you need an antihistamine, or you need, just like people got all that over-the-counter synthetic chemical junk that you buy at the drugstore. Like, you can replace all that with herbal stuff that works better, because the herbal stuff works with God's design of the body to help cleanse it and detoxify, which is what God's trying to do with his design of the body, whereas all the man-made stuff works against God's design of the body and pushes back in the asthma inhalers and the steroid creams. You're suppressing and pushing sickness back into the body, which makes us worse and makes us sicker. So we want to work with God's design of the body. All right, so is there any more? If so, we'll probably make it the last one.
Last question.
Yes.
I'm about to start a kidney cleanse, but don't do well on herbal mixtures. What would be just basic but still help? Enemas, castor oil packs, juicing? ?
Okay, so for a kidney cleanse and you don't do well on herbs, you could download our kidney cleanse and look at it, because you could skip the herbs and you could still do the drink, the kidney drink, which is the apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, and baking soda. Lots of citrus, which citric acid cleans out the kidneys. The apple cider vinegar is very good for cleansing out the kidneys. If you're not doing well, you're reacting to herbs, you're either really, really congested. Possibly the herbs are doing something and causing like a healing response or something like that. But I would just focus on the drink to cleanse out the kidneys. Juicing obviously would be super helpful. The less you can put in your body, the more you can get into cleansing stones or different things going on in those kidneys. So yeah, you probably have some blockages in there that you want to flush out. And then as you start to clean out your lymph and your kidneys, you might be able to actually handle the herbs better. You can just start with small amounts, slowly increase it, and you might find that you do okay with it. Maybe you just don't do okay with the large doses, so you just have to play with it. All right, so thank you all for watching, and we'll be here same time next Thursday, 1 p.m. Facebook Live. God bless you.